Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And speaking of adventures of one's lifetime, we've got a young lady that we're going to talk to this hour. By the way, Brachelle, by popular demand, is going to be here in a little bit. She's got some technical issues, but she's going to be here because we're going to talk with her as well. Because these two, first of all, just so you know, what we do is when we do get ready to do a show, we invite the potential guest to come and talk to us and talk a little bit and get to know each other and all of that. And Haley Straw, who is our guest for the hour, was a part of that. So was Brachelle, and they hit it off really well and stuff. And we wanted to get together with all three of us again and talk about her book and her really unique life in the Amish world, because she was an Amish taxi driver. She's written a book. It's called My Journey into the Amish World, Tales of an Amish Bus Driver or Taxi Driver. I was a bus driver, so that's where that came from. But welcome to the show, Haley. How are you?
Great. Glad to be here.
It is remarkable, the things that you uncovered in the book that you wrote, and the things that you did with the Amish, and which is a very secretive society, and very few people know very much about them. And I know you're not betraying any confidences and stuff like that. But it is really valuable for us to understand, because within the United States we have all kinds of different groups of people. And we need to understand and appreciate each different group of people for who they are, for what they believe, and how they want to live their lives. And because this is America, we should allow people to live their lives that way. Don't you think?
Yep, I agree.
And so they are secretive by nature because, well, let me ask you, first of all, how did you become a taxi driver in the Amish community?
The short version is I moved out to Rome, Missouri from Portland, Oregon almost 10 years ago. And because I have 6 children myself, I have a maxi van, so like a 12 or 15 passenger van. And they saw my van. And to the Amish, like, they don't look at, things and lust after things like we do, except for they do look at vans, and they lust after vans because big vans are their gateway to the outside world. So they love big vans. And if you have a big van, they want to talk to you. So they asked me to start driving.
Oh, that's really cool. First of all, let me backtrack a little bit. Portland, Oregon, just south of where I am. Beautiful area down there, isn't it?
Oh, I miss it. Yes.
I bet you miss it really badly today.
Most days.
And tomorrow, when it's going to be 14 degrees below zero tomorrow?
Right. Yep.
Oh, God. I can't even imagine. And if you drive your van, you're going to have to chip it out somehow.
Chip it out? Oh, yeah.
Of the ice.
Yeah, no, I'm taking winter off. I've had enough of that.
And 6 kids, you look like a wonderful young person. You must have had them like back to back to back to back to back to back.
No, I had them over 12 years, but the Amish have them back to back to back. My neighbor has 5 children. She had them in 5 years. I don't know how she stands up or even gets out of bed.
I can't imagine. Well, like for you, you've been in diapers almost for 12 years. Not you personally, but
no, I don't wear diapers.
Your children.
I'm potty trained. Yeah.
And that's remarkable. We had 2 kids, and that was plenty. But how old are your kids?
I don't tell the Amish when they ask this because they like to figure out my age and I like to keep it a secret, but I'll tell you. My oldest is going to be 25 this year and my youngest is 12.
There is no way that you have a 25-year-old. I'm sorry. There's just no way. Because you're a beautiful young lady and stuff. But that must be quite an experience having the dilemmas that a 25-year-old faces and what a 12-year-old faces.
It's good. I've homeschooled my kids their whole life and been really close to them. So at least for me, it was easier to keep them in the home than just send them out in the world when they're younger. So.
Yeah, and the fact I'm learning a lot about homeschooling of late, and from what I'm understanding is there's a whole system that's out there for homeschoolers to get together with other homeschoolers to really work on the social aspects of being a kid and all that kind of stuff. That's true, right?
Oh yeah. For years out here, there's a family school that we belong to it's legal, and then back in Oregon, yeah, we belong to a homeschool group there. Yeah, I'm not going to deprive my kids of that. I don't know everything. So.
Oh, stop it! You do too.
Yeah, right. Okay.
You're an author. Of course, you've written. And by the way, I wanted to ask you before we get too far. It says book 1. Is there a book 2 coming?
Yeah, it came. It's a Christmas book, and I'm working on book 3 right now.
Oh, so okay. I'm looking at the book 1. The book 2 is Accidental Shepherd.
Amish Christmas Mishaps.
Oh, Amish Christmas. Now that needs some explaining, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that's why I don't drive in the winter anymore. That's the explanation.
Because you had mishaps in the ice and snow.
Unlimited. It was a nightmare.
So you're better off staying home.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they can say someone else.
That's right. Well, not only are you home now, but you're in a little bit of culture shock because you were just recently somewhere else. Where were you?
I was in Maui.
In Hawaii. That must be really shocking to be, because it was probably in the mid 70s there.
It was in the 80s, lows in the like 65. Yeah, it's a big shock.
Well, you know what I love about Hawaii is a lot of places like restaurants and stuff. They don't, the floor or the walls don't go all the way down to the floor in some cases because it's always warm there.
Yeah, and the Amish, most of them don't even know where Hawaii is. When I told them I was going to Hawaii, they're like, they didn't have a response. They didn't know what to say.
They didn't know where Hawaii or that
they're not very well versed on. Well, depending on the community, some can learn history and geography a little bit, but not very much. It's mostly the 3 R's is mostly what they focus on. So, yeah, and they can't go to Hawaii. I can't drive them there. So why do they need to know where it is?
You know, that's a really that actually is pretty logical. And they're not going to fly there. No. They don't fly at all, do they?
No, and that would be way too worldly of a place for them to go. They, at least the most Amish wouldn't wear a swimsuit. They would have to swim in a dress, which is very dangerous.
Yeah, well, they get really heavy.
Well, yeah, they get tripped up, yeah. So.
Oh, so when you first met them and they said, oh, you have a van. We'd love for you to drive us around. Is that how that happened?
Actually, they saw my big pickup truck, but yeah, I was at an Amish house. I went to an Amish store. Most Amish communities have dry goods stores, among other stores. So I was at an Amish dry goods store and I wanted salt. So Sarah, the owner of the store, said, well, just go up the street. And, I didn't know where I was going. I thought I was going to another store, but she directed me to an Amish house. So I went up to this house. I knocked on the door and I said, Sarah said you had salt. They're like, yep. So I bought some salt from this house, this family with 9 children, and I was in my pickup truck. And as I was pulling out, the father of the home, he ran out of the barn. He was milking goats, and he heard my pickup truck roaring, and he ran out, and he's like, hi, you have a nice truck. Do you want to drive for us? And so he got a little piece of paper and a pen, and he wrote his name and his address on the piece of paper, and he handed me the piece of paper. No phone number, no other explanation. I'm like, thanks. And then I drove off, and I had no idea what I was supposed to do with that. So there's a guy that I go to church with. Well, he's since deceased, but I used to go to church with him, and he was an Amish taxi driver. So I said, what is going on? Explain this. And why is there no phone number? So that's how I got started.
And what? How did he explain how it worked for him? Was it that they just now? Pardon my ignorance, because I've never lived in like Missouri or Pennsylvania, and I know there's Amish communities in both areas, so I really don't know. But from what I've heard and what you've told me, they don't have electricity. They drive their horse and buggy still a lot.
Yep.
And so they drive their horse and buggy, and unless they are going on a bigger trip is when, or more of them are getting together, and then they ask you to drive them.
So they drive their horse and buggy. It only will go maybe 10 miles. I have seen them, though, to their credit. It shocks me. They'll hitch up 2 horses to their buggy, and they'll drive like 30 miles, but it takes them all day. So if they want to go to town or visit people in their community, then they drive their horse and buggy. But if they want to go to weddings and funerals and auctions and shopping and doctoring, which are most of the places that I take them, and trust me, they go all this stinking time, all the time. They're always on the go, okay? Then they hire a driver. So they need lots of drivers because they don't stay at home, contrary to what most people believe. Yeah.
So they get out into the community, and so they're very social people.
Oh, yeah.
In and amongst their community.
Yeah.
But they're not so friendly with outsiders, are they? Or are they?
They've always been really friendly to me. Like, they're friendly to the people that they need. Like, they need drivers. So they're friendly with us. They need people to shop at their stores, and a lot of non-Amish shop at their stores, or go to their farms and buy fresh produce in the spring and summer. But they like to stay with their own, for sure.
Now, are they, and this again, pardon my ignorance, but do they have a religious affiliation? Are they Christian? Are they what? Or is it more of a societal thing rather than a religious thing?
It's both a culture and a religion. They're Anabaptist, so you've got the German Baptists. Oh, I think my brain just farted. Mennonites are Anabaptist, and Amish are Anabaptist, and Hutterites are also Anabaptist, but they're all Christians.
Wait a minute. You just said 2 names. I have no idea what you just said.
Which ones were they?
Amish and then Amorite?
Sorry, Mennonites, Hutterites. Have you heard of the Hutterites?
I have not. I have not heard of. What difference are they between? Amish, and then are they just? Is it where they're from, or no?
So an Anabaptist religion is a religion that believes in baptism when you're older. They don't baptize infants. They wait till they're like between 18 and 21 usually. That's like the main thing about the Anabaptist faiths. So Mennonites, Hutterites, German Baptists, and Amish are in that category. Not all of them drive horse and buggy, right? The Hutterites don't drive horse and buggy, but they live in a very close-knit community. German Baptists, they do drive horse and buggy. And Mennonites, some do and some don't.
And what's interesting about this is that is it general knowledge amongst the other population that these folks actually even exist? And
where I live.
Yeah,
where I live.
Well, yeah, like I say, I've never stayed. Now I've gone past when I was traveling. I went past horse and buggies, but I didn't really get a flavor or a sense, because they don't have a TV, right?
No.
They don't have radio.
Nope.
Do they play music on their own style or hymns or?
So
I don't.
So they have so every single community is different. Okay, there's not one thing I can say that's all Amish, except for all of them are Anabaptist. But other than that, they have their own rules in their own communities. So in one community, they're not even allowed to play a mouth harp, which is a harmonica. In the community that I live in, they can play a mouth harp, but they're not allowed. Like one guy, he was a friend of mine, he's since deceased, but one day I stopped by his house and he's like, Haley, I got to tell you a secret. Come here. And he led me into his workshop and he's like, look at what I have. And I'm like, it was a piano. And he's like, don't tell anybody. I'm not supposed to have it. And then he tickled the keys and he smiled at me and I kept his secret, but he was not supposed to have a piano. Okay.
Did nobody went into the barn or wherever it was?
Well, no, there's no reason for anybody to. It was his workshop. Like the bishop wasn't going to sneak in there. And, because if he did find out, he'd have to report it to the church. And he'd get in trouble.
So I gotta ask you, because I don't know this, is that when they've got certain set of rules, and are these the rules that they were born into, and so they are, it's kind of a generational thing, and since that's how they grew up, that's how they live, and they continue to do that, and do some people break away, or is everybody real happy with that style of living?
So first question, are they born into the rules? So have you heard of the term ordnung?
No.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's the set of rules, and each community has its own ordnung, and they write their own set of rules. Like they dictate everything from the color of curtains you can have on your house, the style of house you can have, the color of clothes you're allowed to wear, the width of the brim of the men's hats, whether or not they can wear stocking caps, what kind of, can they have a phone shack? How many phone shacks can they have? What kind of work they can do? Are you kind of getting my idea? Like all of this is in the ordnung. If your buggy has lights, what style buggies you have, what kind of wheels they have, like everything.
They actually measure the brim of a man's hat?
They do. Yeah.
Who's in charge of this?
The bishop.
Is it one guy, or is it a community of leaders? Or
so you have a bishop and a deacon and a minister in each community. And well, let me back up. Each community can have different districts. So for example, the community I'm in has 3 church districts. So they have 3 bishops, 3 deacons, and 3 ministers or preachers. And then, but they all adhere to the same ordnung because they're all in the same community, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's a big, if you got 3, that's a big community.
Not really. It's, each district has 20 to 40 families in it. You don't need very many families in each district because they have like 10, 12, 16 kids, right? So it's a lot to manage.
So I'm getting the impression that one of the reasons they don't go to the doctor is to get birth control. So
no, that's not allowed. Absolutely not allowed.
Oh my gosh.
No. That's why my neighbor has 5 in 5 years, right?
We need to take, I'm learning so much, Haley. It's just amazing. We need to take a quick break, and when we come back, maybe Rochelle will be here, maybe not. We'll see. But Haley Straw is with us. She's an author. She's written a couple of books. My Journey into the Amish World, Tales of an Amish Taxi Driver. And also, anyway, we'll be right back.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. We have a great guest. Her name is Haley Straw, and she's an author. She's written a couple of books, and they revolve around the Amish and those secretive communities that are really reliant upon each other, but they also go like in their dry goods store and stuff, and they create a lot of products and furniture and things that people from the outside can come in and buy. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and let me show you my favorite thing that they make. I always have, this is an Amish, it's a buggy robe. I always have such a warm blanket, but they use it when they're in their buggies in the winter to keep warm. So you can buy those too. They're great.
So if they don't utilize your services as a taxi driver, they're driving their buggy, and it can be like 20 degrees and or 30 degrees or whatever.
Colder.
And it's, or it's colder. And how now, speaking, how many horses do they generally have? Do they have just the one, or do they have like a stable of several?
They have several, but usually they only attach one to the buggy unless they're traveling like 30 miles. Like there's a community in Iowa north of us, 30 miles, and they don't like to hire drivers. So they bring their buggy with their 2 horses.
And how often do buggies and cars get into accidents? Is it pretty safe?
I mean, it happens quite a bit. You'll see it in the news. You can just Google it. We've had close calls in our community, and my neighbor, who is also dead now, anyway, she hit a buggy one time, and a woman I go to church with, she also hit a buggy. I haven't hit any yet.
Okay.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
Well, you would not be, because you understand them and work with them, and you would not be impatient the way some people are about driving around buggies and that kind of thing.
I have a lead foot. So,
do you?
Yeah.
Well, and that's why they like you, because you get there quick.
They do like that. Isn't that funny? They can go like 5-10 miles an hour tops, and then they want their driver to go as fast as possible. Like, dude, this is faster than your buggy, even at 25.
Well, they enjoy the speed of it all and the stuff. But now, what I don't understand is how many kids, if they have 10 or 12 kids each, and stuff, how many of the kids leave the lifestyle and decide to go out, or do they pretty much all stay?
Well, actually, the average number of children, like nationwide, that an Amish family would have is 7. But yeah, most of them stay. I do know several that have left, but most of them stay because of community and because they are taught so hardcore. And I can say this, I don't know if I told you I'm Mormon or not, but I'm Mormon. I'm very awake as a Mormon. I question a lot and I have to be very careful. But just like the Mormons are taught, the Amish are taught that if you stray, you'll go to hell. And so that's very, very much ingrained in them. So a lot of them are afraid to leave, even though they might want to. And they'll lose everything they have. They'll lose their family. They'll lose their community. They only have an 8th grade education. So it's hard to leave.
And they don't really know what they're going to go to because they've never been there and stuff. So I can understand that makes it very difficult for them to. They only have an 8th grade education. Why don't they? Well, I don't know. Why is that?
They feel like anymore is unnecessary. But let me tell you something. I was really surprised to learn when I got to know the Amish is that most of them are multimillionaires and have more money than they know what to do with. And that's because of the way their communities are set up. They are taught to work from the time they can walk. I mean, you'll see a little 5-year-old mowing the lawn outside if you drive through an Amish community. It's amazing. But they stop at 14 and then they go to work, and they're making, most of the young men are making an adult wage. Like here in Missouri, they're making $20, $25 an hour as a 14-year-old kid. Okay. In construction, or working in the metal shop, or working at the sawmill, or working somewhere in the community with other Amish. And that's a lot of money for a 14-year-old kid. That's actually a lot of money for most people in Missouri.
Well, it's even worse when you look at it from the perspective of there are no movie houses. There are not a lot of restaurants. There's not a lot of places for a typical teenager to dispose of his income. It doesn't really exist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna. Do they have a movie theater?
Oh my stars! If they watch movies, they'd have to confess. No, they can't do that.
So they don't, let's see, they, they don't have a TV. They
No.
don't have a radio. They don't go watch movies. What do they do for fun?
How many children do they have?
So you're either making children, raising children, or washing children's diapers. That's pretty much it.
Or gossiping. Lot of gossip.
Oh, about this person who did this and this person who might do that, and how shameful can that be?
And well, I was pregnant one time a few years ago and I didn't even know it, but the whole community knew it. I never had another baby. They just get bored.
Well, I guess, I mean, if you got nothing else to do they do a lot of reading?
So depending on the community, like the one community that started me driving, they're only allowed to read the Bible and a publication, any Amish publications. They're not allowed to read anything else. Some communities, like the one I'm in, they like to read a lot of Westerns, but they are very selective in what they read. They have to be because they have these standards.
Oh, and if they don't follow the standards, then they can get in trouble. What happens when they get in trouble?
Well, if they're caught doing something, so if you're a baptized member, okay, if you're a kid and you're caught doing something, like sometimes kids will get radios or they'll get smartphones, as happened in my community. A kid got a smartphone. His dad found out, he took a hammer to it. And then his dad's job to punish or discipline him. But if you're an adult and you're baptized, then it's the church's job to punish or discipline you. So then you have to confess in front of all of the adults. So say it was an adult with a smartphone, which has happened several times in my community. The adult has to confess in front of all the other adults in church. And then they decide what to do with them.
And what are some of the things that they decide to do with them? I'm scared to ask.
Well, I mean, they can't do a whole lot. They can put you in the ban. Have you heard that term?
No, please enlighten me.
The ban is where you're not allowed to associate with people, your family, the community members. So if you're in the ban, like I know of a man that was put in the ban, and what happened with him was he can't be with his wife, shake her hand, take any food from her, take anything that she hands him. Like he can't take anything from anybody's hands in the community. He can't sit at the same table as his family. Can't go to church. Well, maybe he can go to church. But anyway, he couldn't participate in the sacraments. He's just cut off as much as he can be, but still there. And then if he's repented, like you get rid of your phone if that's the offense, and you're repentant about it and promise to never do it again, then they'll reinstitute you and you can, take things from your wife again or go to the grocery store and buy things again in the community. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. So if you get the ban, you can actually get banned from going to the grocery store.
Well, if you did go to that store, like there's a little store in my community, and if they did go to that store, a man named Harvey runs it. He couldn't take money from the person, so he could just shop, take everything he wanted, not pay for it. And then when he's back in good standing, they would take his money. But when you're in bad standing in the ban, nobody can take any money from you. They can't do business with you.
But you can walk in and steal some stuff.
Well, they probably write a tab, and then he could pay it later. But yeah. Okay, well, let me tell you, I have some ex-Amish friends. They left about a year ago, a family with 5 children, really beautiful family. The guy had a cell phone. He wasn't going to give it up. Then he bought a truck, and then rumors were going around, and eventually they left. But she'll message me and she'll say, hey, Haley, I want these things from Harvey's store. Can you go get them from me? And so I go to Harvey's store and I buy these things for her because she's not allowed, because they have been completely shunned because they actually left. So when they're shunned, they can't, they're not even welcome in the community if you're shunned. Your family won't talk to you. Your community members won't talk to you. You're completely cut off.
Now, can you reapply to go back if you leave and then nothing good happens and stuff, and you decide that even though it's not perfect there, that it's better than being on the outside, and they invite you, can you go back, or do you have to write "I'll never leave again" 100,000 times on the blackboard?
You have to go back for a period of time and prove that you're really mean it, get rid of all your earthly things, your truck and your electricity and your cell phone, and go back for a while. And then after they feel like they can trust you, they'd have to vote to decide if they want to let you back in or not.
I have an important question to ask you. It's going to be 14 degrees tomorrow, and they don't have any electricity.
-14, you forgot the negative.
Oh, -14. I'm sorry. And they don't have any electricity. Do they have and they must spend a whole lot of time chopping firewood.
They have parties. They're called frolics. So they work together to chop wood, to get ice for their ice house. So a bunch of men will just get together and they'll chop wood and fill up Elmer's woodshed, and then they'll go chop wood and fill up Danny's woodshed. They work together. Yeah.
So do they stay warm?
So I've stayed in many Amish houses, in Wisconsin, particularly when it's been in the sub-zero temperatures. Yeah, it's very toasty in their house. It feels great having a wood stove going in that cold.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, I would imagine that they would have to work through that over the course of time, but and they've been doing this. When we come back, I want to ask about the history of the Amish. When did they get here? And I imagine it was in the 1700s, but I don't know. Okay. I'm not sure but we'll ask you that when we come back from this break, and hopefully Rochelle will join us. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
Are you looking for a powerful way to grow your brand while making a real difference? Well, Positive Talk is the perfect platform to align your message with inspiration, hope, and meaningful conversations. By sponsoring Positive Talk, your brand will reach an engaged audience that values positivity and connection. People who want to support companies that share their values. Take this opportunity to showcase your business in a space that uplifts, inspires, and creates lasting impact. Don't wait. Email me, Kevin@kmmedia.pro today to learn how you can partner with us and spread positivity while growing your brand. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald and Haley Straw is with us. She's an author of a couple of books. Tell us about the second book, the accidents that happened at Christmas. I'm sorry, the name of the book again is
Amish Christmas Mishaps.
Amish. That sounds like a funny book, is it?
I don't like to read it because it was hard. Everything went wrong. Nobody died. Okay. And nobody was hurt, but everything else went wrong. I lost a couple of vans on that experience. We got stuck in the snow and the ice. We had women and children. It was negative temperatures, freezing our butts off. We blew some tires. We damaged the van. We hit a deer. I can't remember everything that happened. We had to be dug out of the snow in Wisconsin, and the snow was like feet deep. It was a nightmare. It was a few trips just within like 2 weeks, right around Christmas. It was a nightmare. And I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this?
Yeah. So hence the reason why you don't do taxi driving in the wintertime anymore.
Right. Somebody else can have that kind of fun. Yeah.
You've had enough of that.
I have.
But it probably was very expensive to have that kind of fun.
I lost 2 vans. Yeah, like I said. Yeah, because we started one in the cold. We were trying to get it warmed up to prepare for the trip. And it was so cold, and we didn't warm up the engine first, like with the salamander heater. And so just trying to start it just blew the engine. So there goes one van. And then the other one, we did some engine damage. And then after we dropped off all the Amish, like it was the end of our trip, I'm like, I can breathe. We're all alive. We're all safe. We totaled our car hitting a deer driving home. I'm like, are you stinking kidding me? How? It's happened.
So what'd you do with the deer?
Oh, you know what happened with the deer? I mean, we could still drive the van, but it needed all these new parts. But so we drove to a neighbor's house in the community, and we're like, hey, we just hit a deer. You want it? And they're like, no, but I bet my dad does. So then we drove to his dad's house, and he's like, yeah, we'll go get the deer. So we gave it to the Amish.
and they took the deer and had venison
Oh
stewed.
yeah, that's happened to me a few times. I've hit several deer, and I'm like, "Hey, you want it? It's right there on the road. Go get it." They do.
Well, it's easier than now. Do they have like guns and weapons and that kind of thing?
They love to hunt. In fact, I got a call a couple weeks ago, and they're like, "Hey, can we tromp across your property? We're going to do a coyote hunt." So where they kill the coyotes, just to kind of keep the population down, so the deer population can be up, so that I can hit the deer. That's what they do.
That's part of the community. Is you kill the predators so that you can kill the deer.
So that they can eat the deer that I kill with my van. Yeah, that's what happens.
That seems to work out for everybody.
Not me, are you kidding?
Well, what you guys need to do is to put like fortifications on the front of your van to protect it from, and the radiator and stuff from getting hit by deer, because some of the deer are everywhere over there, aren't they?
Oh yeah.
Because at one time they were protected. They don't need to be protected anymore, but there still is, a lot. So what kind of weapons do they have? Do they have like them? I just picture myself there. They've got muzzle loaders and like guns from the 1800s, but do they have modern weaponry?
Yeah, for hunting, but they would never, they wouldn't have a little pistol. They just have guns for hunting. They don't defend themselves. They're nonviolent. What's the word for that? There's a word for it. Anyway, yeah, they would not defend themselves.
Pacifist.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what they are. So they like to hunt and fish.
That Harrison Ford was in a movie that had the Amish in it, and years ago, and I didn't have any idea that they were so pacifistic that they would allow people to beat them and to do stuff without retaliating or anything like that.
Well,
it takes a great deal of self-control.
No, it does. Have you seen Al Yankovic's Amish Paradise song?
I know, but tell me.
The other cheek. He has a little line in there about, I don't remember, but they turn the other cheek. Anyway, they do. They turn the other cheek.
But people know that, but so they don't get bothered very much, though, do they? Or do they? No?
No. Well, haven't you heard of the Amish Mafia, though?
What do they do? Beat you with a stick? I don't know. I haven't heard of the Amish Mafia.
There was a TV show about that. It was a reality show that wasn't real, but some people thought it was. So they like to joke around about, we got the Amish Mafia. They don't.
So are there restaurants that they can go to that have the type of food that they eat, or I mean, like a cafe on the corner, and like a Denny's or something like that, where they can go have dinner out with them and their 37 kids?
So I have, it's back behind me, but there is an Amish van riders handbook, which is for the Amish because they're van riders, right? And then there's an Amish taxi driver's handbook. I actually have a copy of the van riders handbook, and I get a kick out of reading it. It was published like in the year 2000. It needs updated, but it's in there. It says like reasons that you can hire a van, right? And one of them, it says you shouldn't hire a van to go to a restaurant. Why spend all the money? And your wife is a good cook anyway. Why would you do that? But they crack me up.
She gets a day off every now and again, doesn't she?
They do have Amish restaurants like in Holmes County, Ohio, Shipshewana, Indiana, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Those bigger touristy areas, they do have authentic Amish restaurants. But in my area, they don't.
What is authentic Amish cuisine? What do they eat?
So they eat really rich foods, and a lot of them have problems with their gallbladder. But the restaurants in those larger communities are actually run by the Amish. Like you have Amish cooks and Amish waitresses. So it's actually Amish food, right? Because they're preparing it and serving it. But they eat the same things we do with a few exceptions.
They eat meat, right? Or they
they love their meat. Are you kidding? Yeah. They think I'm a whack job for not eating meat. Yeah.
So now, do they raise cattle and that kind of stuff? Oh, so
Oh, yeah.
so they have, so they get together and they have a, what did you call it? Where they get together and chop wood and stuff. You called it a
Frolic is a work party. Mm-hmm.
yes, but there was some festive name that you
It's a
used.
frolic.
A what?
Frolic?
Oh, the frolic. The guys are going to go frolic and they're going to chop a bunch of wood, or they're going to go frolic and kill several cows that we're going to eat for the winter time.
They have butchering parties. Yes, I've walked in on a few of those. Yeah.
Oh, that must be just fun to watch them butchering cattle.
Mm-hmm. Or processing things and making sausage. And yeah, they work together so well. They're so efficient.
And I'll bet you they have a bunch of chickens too.
They do. Yeah, the women will have parties. Like they'll have women come over and they'll make a meal and their children will play and they'll butcher the chickens and process the chickens together. Yeah, many hands make light work, right?
That's exactly. And I'm also willing to bet that in this day and age, they're the only ones in the country who have eggs.
Actually, I was in Hawaii though. It was sorry. And on Maui at least, there are chickens running all over the place. Yep. And there were no chickens no eggs at the store. And I'm like, let's just hunt that chicken down and find their nest. But they have eggs hiding in there.
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, because they don't kill the chickens in Hawaii, and they're everywhere. Yeah. I don't know why, but and they're wild chickens, and but they just go and do what their stuff. But yeah, so I'll bet you they've got the only eggs in town, and which is funny. So what was your, if you had to pick one thing that was your funnest part about working with them, or something that made you giggle every time, what was it?
Something that made me giggle? Oh, I just know that they joke all the time. Something that made me giggle. That's hard.
Well, tell me, they joke all the time. What now? I know they don't tell off-color jokes. So
back that statement up.
Oh, so they can't do it, but they can talk about it. Is that
the women? They blush and they don't do it in front of the men. Won't joke like that in front of the women.
Oh, it's interesting because I gotta believe that they're like in some cases. In this particular case, it was and I'm not used to it. It was a group of Seventh-day Adventists or Mormons or whatever you want to call them. That they were having a party, and it was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Because in my world, it doesn't go like this. But all the women were around a picnic table and were talking amongst themselves. And the men were over in another section talking amongst themselves. And somebody was pulling out his handgun and showing all this kind of stuff. But it wasn't like they were couples that were cohabitating, and talking together, and men talking to women and vice versa. It was very segregated. Is it kind of like that?
The Amish are like that. But I did think of something funny. Can I tell you?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I drove a work crew. I've driven a lot of work crews, and it's really odd because I'm a woman and they're all men. Drove a work crew to a neighboring community called Hamilton, Missouri. Really charming little place. And I was just in my van, and the guys were outside at the hamburger joint, just sitting there enjoying their hamburgers. And a few young women walk by. And I mean, I'm not a man, so I don't know what's attractive to men, okay? But they were definitely average size or larger, and they were wearing leggings. And I was watching these men, and their heads spun so fast, they almost knocked their heads off their shoulders. And they were staring. And I'm like, what are they? But I teased them about it. I'm like, when they got back in the van, but their wives wear dresses, right? Their wives don't shave. Their wives are stark white. Their wives wear these things that I call boob blockers. I don't know the real name, but it's these triangle shaped things to cover the shape of a woman. Like they don't see the shape of a woman very often. And so when they do, no matter, even if it's something most people wouldn't find very attractive, they're like, whoa. Oh, sorry.
Well, when you're wearing leggings and it's very form fitting, they're not used to that. So
No.
so I'm sure they were in the midst of having a wonderful talk amongst themselves about. So that's what I don't know.
Right. No, I know. It was funny to me. And they're just innocent. Most of them are very innocent.
They are, and I would imagine I don't know them, but when you are in that strict of an environment, you would almost have to be, wouldn't you?
Have to be what?
You're really kind of rigid and not very adventuresome to do new things, because it's always been, this is the way we've always done it, so this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah, and it's sinful. I mean, I've had the Amish tell me to put on more clothes. I mean, I always keep my clothes on. Like, I don't know what they're doing, but they just because they don't want to see legs, or, past this part of the arm. That's immodest to them.
Well, and considering, I suppose that if a woman had a razor that would be taken away from her, but they're not allowed to do that either, right?
Most communities aren't. And in fact, I had one woman, we were in southern Missouri, and it was the bishop's wife, and it was hot, and I had shorts on, and I was just sticking my legs out, resting them on the van door. And she seriously, Rachel, she walks up to me, looks at me, and she rubs her hand along my shaved leg. And then she walks away, and I'm like, what was that? Because they don't know what that's like, because they're not allowed.
So the fact of the matter is, you could have wives that are hairier than their husbands.
You can, and they can't shave their mustaches. I've seen many women with mustaches, and it makes me sad because they're not allowed to remove even that.
Well, but there is something to be said for femininity and grooming yourself and feeling good about yourself. It's hard to feel good about yourself when you look like Uncle Harvey.
That's true, but they're taught that that's vain and that's worldly, and that won't get them to heaven. That will keep them out of heaven. Those kinds of ideas and thoughts and focusing on appearance will keep them out.
Well, look on the bright side. If they were focused on appearance, they might, instead of having an average of 7 kids, they might have an average of 10. I don't know, but it's remarkable. Did you enjoy? I'm sure you did. Your time together with them. Was there anything that just made you scratch your head?
Made me scratch my head? A lot of things make me scratch my head about them. Like the women that they can't shave, or okay, what really caused me to pause, and I had to ask an ex-Amish friend of mine about this. I remember my son was younger. So 5 of my 6 children have traveled with me when I've driven the Amish. So because I love to have my children with me.
Of course.
And we homeschool, right? So that's part of their experience. But we were in Wisconsin at a funeral, and my son, who's 15, he was a lot younger. And I was in the house just kind of sitting there trying to blend in. And I happened to sit right next to the mother who lost her son. And her son was like 8, and he died of leukemia. And so we got to talking, and I said, I've got an 8-year-old son. I just can't imagine what you're going through. And I wanted to hug her so badly and to hold her and to let her cry. But in Amish land, they're not allowed to do that. Like, somebody dies, they can't express what they're feeling. They can't cry. They just have to hold it in, and that's God's will. And hopefully they'll all make it to heaven so they can be together again. And that's just how it is. And my heart broke for this mother. I could tell she was in such pain, but she couldn't express it.
That would be really, really, really hard. Because death is a part of life, and I know that they view it that way, but it's an 8-year-old child. I couldn't imagine losing an 8-year-old child, and then having to buck it up and just deal with it and not cry or any. So what are their now, because they do everything at home and stuff, I imagine that they bury their own when somebody dies.
They do. So my friend, who is since deceased, which is a whole nother story I'm writing about in my next book, but he was the casket maker in the community. They just make simple pine caskets. So if someone dies in the community, it would be his job to make the casket. And then there's another guy, Eli. He's, he and a few other men, they dig the grave 6 feet deep, right? They hand dig it. And they have their own graveyards. And then one time I went to Wisconsin and I came back with a gravestone. Costed $50, but there was a gravestone maker in Wisconsin and they needed a gravestone down here. So we went and we got it. So yeah, they do it all themselves.
So the friend of yours that passed away was the cabinet maker?
Casket maker.
The casket maker.
Mm-hmm.
So did they tell people you can't die because we have to train another casket maker?
There's another one. It's a volunteer job, but yeah.
So they now do they get the lumber from a lumber yard, or do they cut their own lumber? How does that work?
Usually in each community there are several lumber yards. So yeah, they just produce it themselves. Yeah.
It is fascinating that they are so self-sufficient. They've done this for, I was going to ask you, how many hundreds of years have they been doing the exact same thing over and over again?
So the Amish came over here in 1730. They came to Pennsylvania, and Jacob and Mon broke off from Simon Meadows. Simon Meadows started the Mennonite church because there's just a lot of stuff going on there that they didn't like. So they started their own church, and they believed that you shouldn't baptize as an infant. You need to be baptized when you know what's going on. So Simon Meadows started that, and then Jacob and Mon had disagreements with him. So he broke off and started the Amish church, and then they moved out to Pennsylvania. That's the nutshell.
Oh, very, very, very good. Now, when you are 18 or 19, is it full immersion when they baptize you?
No, they just pour it on your head.
Oh, okay.
I would have think,
huh?
They have classes to prepare the young person to be baptized, so they know what they're doing, which I think is really good.
I don't disagree with that at all.
No.
In like the Lutheran Church, it's catechism and stuff like that. But that's you're baptized in as an infant, and then you go from there. But it's an interesting philosophy, interesting world. Do you ever see them changing, or are they going to be like this for generations to come? So in the community that I live in or have a farm in, actually, I've seen them change just over the few years. Like all of a sudden, I noticed it was winter, and the young men are wearing their stocking caps. They've never worn stocking caps before, but they changed the ordnung so that they could wear stocking caps. So that's a little more modern. And then, so they do like centimeter by centimeter. They get a little more modern sometimes. Well, and with the advent of the smartphone that they can put into their pocket and nobody can necessarily, oh no.
What do you mean? They can't have those?
Well, I know, but if you put it in your pocket and you put it on, if you put it on vibrate and nobody can see it, then nobody knows you've got it. But then there's the guilt thing, isn't there?
I don't think the kids feel guilty to get smartphones.
No, I mean the ones that they don't feel guilty about having a phone that is banned by the by the church. If they're by the community,
if they're doing that, then they're already on their way out. So no, they don't feel guilty.
Oh, gotcha. It's a very interesting philosophy. So it's really cool, by the way. And now you've gotten your 2 books done, and you're written. Goodness gracious!
I wish.
Yeah, you're writing the 3rd book. How many more books do you think you've got in you?
At least 2 more after that, and a children's book. But I don't like to sit still very long, so it's kind of hard to.
What? How can you sit still? You had like 6 kids and have been busy your whole life and stuff. It's keep writing. I think you've got a skill for it and a gift.
Thank you.
And because of the reviews that I've seen from my journey into the Amish world, tales of an Amish taxi driver, I think that's cool. Maybe has anybody talked to you about making a movie out of it?
No, but that would be fun. I would totally be down for that.
And there she is with Rochelle.
Hello, hello. I'm so sorry. I know that's so late of joining in, but thank you for coming on the show, Haley. I've been trying to listen during this crazy day to the conversation, and really, there's so much learning and differences than most people have that they worry about through their daily life. So it's really cool to learn about different cultures and way of living that people do things.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad that she came with so much time left, you silly thing, you.
I know. I'm sorry. I promised I would still be here, even if it was just for a moment.
No, actually, the conversation was, give me 10 minutes and I'll be there.
Yes, I know. I'm sorry. That is totally on me.
No, I know you've. Well, by the way, it's going to be minus 14 at Kaylee's or Haley's house tomorrow. What's it
Oh,
going to be at your
goodness.
house?
I think out here right now it's maybe 20. Maybe
Oh,
20.
it's balmy out there.
Yes, it's very, very cold. I could not imagine being away for the winter forever. I would probably love it.
Well, she was just in Hawaii last week, so
Oh, beautiful.
yes. And by the way, it is. I'm in Seattle and it's rainy and stormy and it's minus 37. So don't move here, anybody. It's
Yeah,
awful.
don't
You'd
come to
hate
Utah either.
it. Oh, move to Utah. That's much
No,
better than.
no, no, no. Everybody just go away.
So, Haley, is there anything you want to tell Brachelle since she got here so long ago?
Tell her?
Yeah, or
Mm.
ask her or anything. No?
How's the skiing? I lived in Utah last year and I was skiing all winter.
Actually, I've only ever been once. I went for a field trip in 4th grade, and I did skiing, but I am a figure skater. I like to be on the ice. It feels like you're flying, and I've recently got back into it, but it is a lot harder now that I'm older. But I do
And
love
by
it.
the way, she's got a bunch of trophies and she was a figure skater of note.
Dang.
Thank you,
Sweet.
Kevin. Yes, I did it for about 8, 9 years and then took a break, and then I still sometimes just decide to go put them on and skate around. So I really do love having things like that to do.
And she has a really nice jacket that she wore when she was 15 that still fits today.
Yes, I stopped growing when I was very young, so it's a blessing and a curse. I'm just part of the little people.
She is the queen of the little people.
Ice queen, right?
Yes.
So, Haley, is there anything else you'd like to add before we go?
Can I leave you with a thought? A little Amish proverb. I hoard Amish proverbs.
Yes, please.
Is that okay? Okay. So, be life long or short, its completeness depends on what it was lived for. That's one of my
Say
favorite.
that again.
Be life long or short, its completeness depends on what it was lived for.
That is beautiful. We need to put that on a jacket, Kevin.
I agree. That is, and say that one more time.
Be life long or short, its completeness depends on what it was lived for.
That is absolutely beautiful.
And in my world, it was lived for the Seattle Seahawks, but that's just me.
Oh my goodness, Kevin.
Is that a little sacrilegious? I don't know. Anyway, Haley Straw has been our guest, and to go get her book, My Journey into the Amish World, Tales of an Amish Taxi Driver. And Brachelle, thank you so much for wandering by. And Haley,
Of course.
I need to get the two of you together again. So one of these days, you'll have to come back when your next book is about ready to come out, maybe?
Good. There's my motivation. Okay.
We'd love to see you again and talk more about the fascinating adventures of meeting somebody. And I just want to make sure that everybody gets the fact that, we've got lots of different types of people who live in this country, and we all should treat everybody with respect and kindness and treat everybody equally. And in this day and age, it's even more important than ever. And Haley, I want to thank you so much for being here, and have a great day, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin at kmmedia.pro.